and welcome to the Principally Speaking podcast, episode 2. That's right, we're doing this multiple times. I'm Josh Gillespie.
I'm Brittany Martinez.
How you doing, Brittany?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I've been excited and encouraged by the amount of people who have listened and even
Yeah.
commented on the podcast. I think we probably made a good move doing this.
I think so. I think, we've been talking about this for a long time. There's no better day than today if we couldn't do it yesterday. So I'm glad that we're doing it now and we're just biting the bullet and trying it and let's see what happens.
And not only that, we have launched our very first Substack.
We
We're
did.
we're we're doing
And our
everything.
TikTok and our TikTok. And let me give Josh his kudos. Josh is our comms director. He's also our digital guru. So that means by default, he gets to do all the fun techie stuff. And by fun, I mean maybe not always so fun, especially when we're trying to figure things out. So thank you to Josh for really ushering us through this. And, we've been talking about doing this stuff for a long time and we just had to do it. And so we're doing it now.
We are doing it, and it is so much fun. Honestly, I love doing podcasts. You know that prior to joining Principles First, I ran a whole bunch of podcasts, including my own. And so finally doing one for Principles First is dynamite. It's exciting.
Yay. I'm very
So
excited.
we have an action-packed show.
Yes.
So many things.
So
I
many things. And Josh, and listen, I'm not trying to add one more thing and derail us. However, very quickly, I want to recognize that as we start this podcast and we see things and we tweak things, I'm very much going to be touching my hair. Apparently, I did that a lot last time. I drank a lot of drinks of my energy drink. So to tweak that, I put a straw in my drink this time. So you'll still see me doing that. But this is really, and I didn't show you this when we were in the pre talk of this. I have a new friend
Oh, look at that.
and I think we need to name her. I like to name inanimate objects. I think there's a name for that. Make things that are what is it? Anthropomorphic. Oh, that did come up.
Anthropomorphic.
Oh, I think I added one more extra syllable in there. Excuse my congestion. I've been sick this week. But yeah, so I don't know if this is very principles first. But you know what? We can save democracy, preserve democracy. We don't have to be boring. We don't have to be jerks. We can enjoy each other's company.
We
And,
can.
why not? Why not? I love it. It sparks joy.
And I love that you have
Oh.
a bright pink windscreen on that thing.
She's pretty. I had to jazz her up. So there you go.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice. Well, welcome to the world unnamed microphone. But we're glad you're here and we're glad that you're listening. For those of you who are listening, for those of you who are watching, we're trying something a little bit different this week. We're not going to keep it on full screen view. Only when we're talking will we show up. We'll
Oh,
see
we
how that
can.
works.
I'm
Oh, we totally
prepared.
could.
I'm prepared.
You're prepared this week? All right.
Yeah,
All right. Well,
I'm ready.
all right.
I'm
Well, let's get
ready.
to issue one because, like I said, we have a whole host of things to talk about. I have to be remiss, or I would be remiss, if I didn't mention the Politico Playbook and Punchbowl News and how they have basically informed this outline. Let's start talking about elections.
Oh,
And the Michigan primary is right around the corner. My goodness, there's a lot to talk about in terms of Michigan. Since we are occupying the center right lane, let's start talking about President Trump's quote in Michigan when he was at I believe it was Ford Motor Company, at some place where they make cars, and I believe it was Ford.
yeah.
He said during his speech that this year, this calendar year, 2026, is the single greatest year we have ever had as a country. I don't know if that has to be one of the most tone deaf comments that I think that I have heard from a sitting president. And we've heard some
Yeah.
pretty tone deaf comments from sitting
Yeah.
presidents regarding the
Yes.
economy in
Sure.
bad times.
Yes.
How do Republicans, especially Republicans in Michigan, who have been the big beautiful bill hasn't impacted Michigan the way that I think the president had hoped.
Yeah.
Tariffs have definitely hit Michigan hard. We have a war going on. How is this the single greatest year in American history, Brittany?
I mean, if I was Republican on the stump right now, I would pray that the president wouldn't come do a rally in my community because he's saying things that are just so disingenuous and it's just that's not how Americans feel, and you can say that, but that doesn't mean people can see it with their eyes. They can feel it in their bones. They can tell whether their pocketbooks are full or not. And so to say something like that is so ridiculous and out of touch, to your point. I often wonder why the president does say the things that he says. And I know that we're probably going to get into some other Michigan things here in a second, but it's untrue to the points that you made. And gas prices have been so volatile this year. We think about like the price of groceries. That's the American experience right now, not necessarily the best year ever. I'm not saying that there aren't
Hmm.
people out there having their best year ever, but when we're talking
Sure.
about sort of society, no, I think we've probably had some better years on record. I'd
Uh,
probably say that. Yeah,
no, that I
with
think that's a fair
confidence.
assessment. We have had some better years on record. You're in many ways much too young for this, but the 90s, granted, we had, a Democrat president, but we had a Republican controlled House and Senate starting in 1994 or after the 1994 midterms. Economically, we were doing pretty fantastic. And we passed welfare reform in the 90s. And I mean, one, there was a thing called bipartisanship, at least.
What's that, Josh?
I don't
I've never
know.
heard of that before.
I don't know. I don't know. I think it's a myth. It's
Yeah,
like it's like the Odyssey.
yeah,
Very much a myth.
yeah,
Um, but I mean, outside of the eventual impeachment that took place, that clearly was not a bipartisan move. But there were some bipartisan moments during the 90s. Things did not necessarily feel quite as toxic as they do now. But what I find interesting, and I feel like we'll probably get back to this particular poll, but CNN came out with a poll, and I have it, I'm looking at it here,
yeah,
that say that Democrats lead Republicans on a generic ballot by 8 points among registered voters. Now, it's a generic ballot. I
yeah.
think we need to,
Sure.
point that out. By a 10-point margin, this is crazy. Americans now call Democrats more than Republicans the party of change. Did not see that one coming. It seems that Republicans, well, one, this is not the best year
Yeah,
for Republicans,
yeah,
for sure, for everything that's going on. And I think that for the most part, Republicans have, and the polls continue to show it, although Chris Cillizza has an interesting article on his Substack, which is paid. I don't pay for Substack quite yet. Maybe I will once Principles First has a paid Substack, if we go that route. Um, but he has an interesting article for those who are paid Substack readers that says he talks about a specific map that doesn't necessarily say that Democrats have an easy path to the House. But all that to say, yeah, tone deaf. The president's comments just kind of seem to constantly put Republicans on their back foot.
always. Always. I mean, it's so unhelpful. He said, I think we probably talked about this last time too. He said multiple times this year, he doesn't care about midterms. And he says things like the affordability crisis is a hoax, right? Like so out of touch, so unhelpful to everybody, and also untrue.
Mhm.
So no, I mean, nothing he says ever surprises me truly at this point. But
Yeah.
yeah, like, what are you doing? That's always maybe that's what we call this podcast. What are you doing? Like what
What
is
do you
going
do?
on? Yeah. We're just gonna have a new name for the podcast every week. What's going on here? Anyway.
No, I dig it. I dig it. I dig it. Well, it kind of sticking or keeping our toe dipped in Michigan, the Democrats have an interesting primary, Senate primary on their hands. I want to get your input on this,
Yeah.
your perspective, because, and I've seen this mentioned in multiple spots. Are the Democrats having their own version of the Tea Party this year? I think specifically we've seen a lot of DSA candidates make some waves, maybe not necessarily win, but definitely make some waves across the country. And for those of you who may not know, DSA is Democratic Socialists of America. That's what Zoran Mamdani, I think, is technically the new mayor of New York.
Yeah.
Are the DSA candidates, are they, do you think, the Democrats' Tea Party? And for as much concern as the Democratic Party establishment has with some
Yeah.
of these DSA candidates, which is understandably so,
Sure.
it does remind me quite a bit of 2010.
Yeah.
with the Tea Party resurgent, or not surgent, resurgence, but their surge. And especially, I remember the Republican talking points back then were that a lot of these candidates were too far to the right, that they had no shot. And then they ended up surprising a whole bunch of races
Right.
in
Yeah.
2010. What do you make of the DSA and the Democrats' Tea Party moment?
For all of our sakes, I hope that this isn't a Tea Party moment for Democrats because Republican Tea Partiers back then were fairly successful that year, especially. And maybe this is a Republican in me, and that, that's okay. I recognize that I will have biases. I feel like DSA poses a greater threat to Democrats than maybe the Tea Party did to Republicans back then. And maybe I'm just a revisionist of history here. But the reason I say that is because of this. Democratic socialism is not a thing, it is antithetical to itself. I hate that term. You're either a democracy or you're socialist and follow a socialist agenda. And socialism is a step from communism. So you cannot have it both ways. So this BS Donnie, all these young progressive Democrats or Democratic socialists, you don't know what it means to be a socialist. And I get really fired up on this topic. I'm Cuban American and Mexican American, but the Cuban side of the family fled communism. And again, like I said, communism is only a step away from socialism. And so I grew up knowing just one step removed from my dad that how serious communism was. And so when I hear Democrats use terms like this so loosely as though it's a good thing, it is not a good thing. So that's my one thought there. My other thought on this particularly is like, just because this may happen in Michigan, and maybe it'll happen in a New York or in a more progressive blue area, the old adage does not go as goes Michigan goes the nation, right? And so I don't think that we should use what may happen in Michigan as a bellwether of what's going to happen around the country. That doesn't mean that there's going to not be some excitement, right, for the DSA people, that they might get a couple people. But I think that the other concern I have here is I'm afraid Republicans are going to use this sort of like a rallying cry of like, look at these socialists and the Democrats, and they're all
Mm-hmm.
communists and these commies over here. When in reality, it might just be like a small handful of people. And you have to think Congress is 435 on the House side and 100 in the Senate. So 535 people overall. If you've got 10 people, that's super, super, super small number. And so I just don't want any fear mongering on that end, which will, of course, happen because it is politics. And that's what
Mm-hmm.
we do in politics. So that is a concern on one angle, too. And as far as Democrat leadership, generally, it looks like, other than like the outliers like Bernie Sanders, who's always going to be Bernie Sanders, that Democrats are recognizing we probably need to moderate a little bit. And so, these people sort of throw a wrench into that plan for them, but the people also vote for what is exciting and new and different, and it's going to promise different things. So we'll see what happens, but that's kind of my Michigan thought overall.
No, I think you're spot on with that assessment. I could see some DSA candidates around the country for House seats. They could potentially win
Yeah,
and maybe pick up a seat or two. I'm not expecting the whole slate of DSA candidates that are running in primaries
totally.
between here and the general pull off a victory, let alone taking a Senate seat. So, but it is going to make the August 4th primary between Haley Stevens and Abdul Al-Sayed a very interesting. It's going to be an interesting situation come Tuesday,
Yeah.
just to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Because the interesting thing, and much like Tea Party candidates back in 2010 and to a lesser extent in 2012, they're excited
Mm-hmm.
and they will come out in the primary.
Yeah.
But much like in 2012, and also I can think of a few candidates in 2010, the Senate candidates never fared well in the general.
Right. Yeah.
I can't remember what year it was, but do you remember? I think it was it Delaware or Maryland. Christine, she was the witch, um, former witch. I can't even remember her last name. I want to say her first name was Christine. And I probably should have prepared for that for the podcast, but I didn't. But I think of her in I think it was 2010. I think of Richard Murdoch in
Yeah.
2012, who defeated
Mm,
Dick Lugar here in Indiana, and may have actually pulled it off if he
right.
hadn't said some stupid things prior to the general. And a much more accessible and moderate candidate in Joe Donnelly, the last Democrat to win statewide in Indiana,
Right.
won the Senate seat.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure that Democrats nationally are hoping that Haley Stevens is able to take that primary.
Right.
But I appreciate the excitement that DSA candidates bring, but that's honestly probably about it.
And I mean,
I,
not to mention, how often do we see candidates that are exciting and then totally tank the party's chance in a general
yes,
election because they just primaries are about passion, general elections are about persuasion, and they just can't persuade those people to get over onto their side. And so that's probably a good chance of what'll happen here. But passion and civic engagement is good, but people don't think about those long-term things, and you shouldn't expect the voters to because they're just trying to like vote for who sounds exciting to them. So maybe be more exciting candidates and also like not terrible people. Like
exactly.
that's all you need. That's all you need is to like not be a jerk and then also just be interesting enough. Like that's kind of the secret sauce right there. There you go. And then
Hmm.
and be like smart enough, like engaging enough. It's just a little bit of everything minus the bad stuff, as little of the bad stuff as possible. It's not
Yeah,
rocket
and
science.
it isn't, especially when it comes to the Senate. I mean, you'll get, like I said, there could be some DSA victories in the House, minimal at best. That just doesn't fly with the Senate.
No.
I mean, and voters seem to pick that up too.
Yeah. The upper chamber where I never worked.
Exactly. I didn't either. We're both house rats.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, hey, okay, hold on. So I hate the term. So if, for folks who might not know, people who work on the Hill, they'll call them hill rats or house rats,
hmm
whatever.
hmm
And so I actually hate the term hill rat because it feels derogatory because I'm not a rat. Rats are so gross. So instead, I consider myself a house mouse because I only ever worked in
Okay.
the house and it's like cute little like country house mouse. And then
No, I dig it.
there's also a lot of mice in the capital anyway. And so house mouse. So anyway, you could
No,
be a
that's
rat if
cute.
you want to, Josh. I'll stick with house mouse.
Admittedly, I was a hill rat back in the day.
Yeah.
So we've touched on Michigan. I want to. There are just so. I don't know if this is an exceptionally ridiculous year for abuse type candidates or not, but it feels like there are a lot. If there's something that seems to bridge the bipartisan divide, it seems to be, sadly, some sort of domestic abuse. And we have a very ugly situation potentially brewing in Ohio with Republican Max Miller, who is accused of serious domestic abuse with his wife and with his 2-year-old. It shouldn't go unmentioned that Max Miller's wife is the daughter of Ohio Senator Bernie Moreno. You had some pretty harsh words and have had some pretty harsh words for the likes of Graham Plattner,
Yeah.
and even his successor, Troy Jackson,
Yeah.
who has some anger management issues.
Yes.
What do you make of the Max Miller situation? Now, granted, this is all allegation.
Yeah.
We don't want to go out there already and say that,
Right.
but these are pretty severe allegations.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm so mad. And Max Miller has come out and said that these are totally false allegations and never, he's never done this. Here are my thoughts because I do have thoughts on this again. They're very serious allegations. From my understanding, and Josh, you tell me if I'm saying this incorrectly, but from my allegations, from my understanding, allegations that the ex-wife has made that he held a gun to her head when she was changing the diaper of their child, that he threw boiling water at her, that he also pushed her into a wall at another point, and that there are also allegations, and again, these are all allegations, and other allegations of emotional and physical abuse. These are all reported in police reports and now in court filings. And so my understanding is also that when she filed for divorce, this was like the reason of the divorce. Like that's what you would find if you pulled up this paperwork. So I'm here are my thoughts. It is great for public officials and for all Americans to have a due process. However, for as voters, as political parties, we do not have to wait for incrimination to decide whether someone is unfit or not. These are some incredible allegations. And what we've seen, to your point that you said at the beginning of this, I don't know what's happening. Like, I don't know in Washington, D.C. and what water people are drinking or what, because it just seems to be so many men, and it's been men.
Oh, they're all men.
In the last year, in the last few months, that all these crazy allegations, okay, so Eric Swalwell was not enough. Okay, so Tony Gonzalez wasn't enough. Graham Plattner wasn't enough. Troy Jackson wasn't enough. Now we have this allegation against Max Miller. It is deplorable. I am so angry for the ex-wife. Also, now we're filming this on a Thursday afternoon. Perhaps by the time this airs, it'll be different. The last that I saw, and I could be wrong, but the last that I saw, Speaker Johnson was asked about this, and he said something along the lines of, well, these are just allegations right now. And then Senator Bernie Moreno, again, who is the father of this, made these allegations and accusations. So this is a family matter. Mm-hmm. So that is your daughter. That is your daughter. And that is your son-in-law, former son-in-law, not your son. That is your daughter. And that's all you had to say on it.
And his grandchild. There's child endangerment charges here.
Child. Yeah. So at this point, I feel comfortable saying, as a Republican, Max Miller, you need to resign. And I hope that Congress comes forward soon and starts to say those things. My understanding, I just saw this stuff pop up yesterday. I think it started to get real steam about a week ago or so, and first really covered in May earlier this year, and maybe like in small batches before that, because this is now. I don't know why we're not talking about it in Congress. Maybe they're just trying to get out for August recess. So well,
the House is already out.
You're right. So maybe they're just trying to get out for August recess and like didn't catch this in time. I don't know, but I'm just appalled. I'm appalled.
Apparently, with all the charges that have come out, according to Larry Sabato's crystal ball, the infamous Larry Sabato, they are seeing, because of the allegations that have come out, they are starting to see a shift in Ohio's 7th, moving it from likely Republican. Now, this isn't huge by any stretch of the imagination, but from likely Republican to leans Republican, which basically
it's a shift. It's a shift.
It is a shift.
Yeah,
it is a shift. And if Miller's Democratic opponent can capitalize on these allegations, or if worse things come out, which it's honestly hard to see what worse could come out than what's already been released, or at least what can be found. This is ugly. Is
disgusting. It's maybe this is a hot take, and I filmed one of my little drink videos earlier, and so I might have to refilm it because now I'm getting it all out here, so I don't have to be redundant over there. But maybe this is a hot take, Josh. I don't know, but I don't think it's that hard to not abuse women, allegedly. I don't think it's that hard to not get physical with people. Like, you're a grown man. Again, this is to the points from last week. You're a grown adult. What are you doing? And if these allegations are true involving the child, that's horrific. So not only are you not a man because you're doing things to your wife, you're also acting on them around your child where your child could have been injured. Are you serious? Like, what kind of man are you Seriously, this is for Republicans and the culture vultures and the alpha male. Like, I've never seen a more beta man, honestly.
Hmm.
It's disgusting.
There was, I saw it earlier and I know that I've lost it, sadly. I keep on looking to my left because I have a bunch of tabs open that I'm trying to go back to. Um, but there was a poll done recently, and it wasn't, I don't think it was in the CNN link. It could have been in Punchbowl or the AP or Politico, but it was basically talking about what voters will accept in their candidates these
Hmm.
days. Like
Yeah.
what horrible behavior they will accept in their candidates these days. And abuse doesn't knock them out of the running. Shocking. Because politics has gotten so toxic in this country. It's like the whole process, the whole goal is to defeat the opponent.
Yeah.
Do whatever it takes to defeat the opponent.
Yeah.
And that's sick. I
Yeah.
mean, the fact that that's where we've come to.
No.
But speaking of Sabato's crystal ball, hard transition because that's what I like
Yes.
doing. Hard transitions. The map does seem to be getting tighter. Sabato's crystal ball is releasing its latest batch of race rating changes, with several districts shifting towards Democrats. Interestingly enough, on the Senate side, speaking of a red state going blue, John Ossoff, his
Yeah.
reelection bid is gone from lean to likely,
Yeah.
which is still very much amazing to me. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if Georgia is becoming an outlier in the South or not,
Mm, mm,
but to go from blue across the board in 2020 with the presidential and the Senate, because they had two
yeah.
Senate elections in
Yeah.
2020, to winning statewide Senate for Raphael Warnock in 2022
Mm.
because he was filling out a term, and Ossoff is up for reelection and looks poised to win again, but still going for Trump in 2024. What do you make of these kinds of candidates, the Ossoffs and the Warnocks, being able to pull off statewide, where Trump was also able to pull off statewide, at least in 2024?
I think that, I don't want people to get mad at what I'm about to say. I don't necessarily mean literally policies or anything, but they might see qualities in a Trump that are similar to the fighting qualities or whatever in an Ossoff. I, I otherwise, I don't know what it is, right? I think that ultimately it's just the appeal of, oh, Trump, I'm gonna fix this, I'm gonna fix the economy, I'm gonna and then bankrupt it. No,
Yeah.
just that is false. Don't back check me on it. We're technically not bankrupt, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tank it, and then you have John Ossoff, and also and actually, not only are we looking at someone who is a Republican versus a Democrat, look at how starkly different they are. We have Trump right now, who is 80, obviously he was a little younger back then, but 80 years old. Every day people are wondering about his mental finesse. And we have John Ossoff, who is probably the youngest senator. I could be wrong, but if not the youngest, one of the youngest in the US
He is
Senate.
one of the youngest for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And, has a whole political career ahead of him should he want it, right? And it's sort of Democrats and Republicans too, but everyone is 2028. And I've seen people say over the last week, especially focusing on Ossoff, and he's like, he's the future, he's young, attractive young man, and etc. And so they couldn't truly be any more different, but appeal to the same voter. And quite frankly, I applaud those voters for not feeling the need to stick with party loyalty down the ticket or being willing to split
Yeah.
the ticket, because not everyone is willing to do that. It is interesting, though. I do wonder what makes this Georgia voter different, or maybe it's just, candidate problems, right? Or candidate, what's the opposite of problems? Solutions.
Solutions. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, do you think that this kind of makes Georgia more of a purple state like Virginia?
Mm,
I mean, just because again, the South is
yeah.
so deep red.
Yeah.
And one of the last states I would have honestly considered going blue was Georgia.
Yeah.
But Atlanta has a strong population
Yeah.
in the South. And I'll say this, for the most part, state wide. They have elected pretty normie Republicans. I
Yeah.
think of Brian Kemp,
Yeah.
Raffensperger for
Right.
Secretary of State. They've been pretty normal. But what I think is interesting is that even for a normal Republican like Brian Kemp, when he was being courted by the president to run against Ossoff, he was like, no thanks. Like even he knew.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's interesting what the voters are thinking in Georgia, and if that's something to keep an eye on for future presidential
Yeah.
races. I mean, Georgia is Georgia in play. And I always bring this book up, and I never remember the name of it or even who it's about. I can't even remember the name of the title of the book. I've read it. So there was this book written about one of President Reagan's chief political advisors during his 84 run and H.W. Bush's 88 run, along with the likes of like Haley Barbour and others, created the Southern Strategy.
Mhm.
And that basically transformed the South from blue, very blue, dark blue,
Yeah.
to bright red. It makes me wonder if Democrats could ever come up with a similar strategy, and if they would just take a look at what's
Yeah.
happening in Georgia and use that as a roadmap.
Yeah.
I don't know if it would work in Mississippi and Alabama,
Yeah.
but maybe
A-
Louisiana. I don't
And
know.
certainly not if they're leading into DSA.
No. Oh, please, no DSA candidates in the South.
Yeah.
Please no.
Yeah.
Well, let's shift the conversation again to some of the excitement that is taking place on the Hill for the chamber that remains, the U.S. Senate, and what I like to refer to as John Thune's balancing act,
Yeah.
especially these last 2 weeks. We got to bring him back up. The YOLO caucus.
YOLO.
You already know though.
YOLO's gonna YOLO. John Cornyn has been stealing the headlines this week with the Todd Blanche nomination, almost single-handedly sinking it to the point where, as of just before we started recording this, apparently President Trump threw out a Truth Social that he could consider withdrawing or delaying Todd Blanche's nomination until Cornyn and Tillis are gone.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that that makes me laugh. The fact that he's basically by saying that, he's basically put it out there. One, the weaponization fund
Mhm.
is not dead.
Right.
Despite what Todd Blanche says. It is not dead.
Yeah.
And he is going to fight like hell to keep that immunity deal. What are the chances? Now, granted, it's probably better in the Senate than it is in the House, but what are the chances that Democrats or that Republicans can hold the Senate?
Right.
I mean, it could go 50-50,
Yeah.
which, I mean, still, that's still technically a GOP controlled Senate.
Mhm.
It just astonished me
Yeah.
that he said he would wait.
I mean, that is the most direct way to indirectly say that you lost.
Yeah.
That you like, and also for someone who loves to project his strength and confidence, and I think even yesterday, tweeted or said something about Iran again, and we're gonna nuke you or whatever, again, don't fact check me, but it's just like generalization. He said something about
Yeah.
Iran, I think, again yesterday. It surprised it to me that he said that, because how else are we supposed to interpret it? So you admit that you've been defeated on this, which he never wants to admit any sort of defeat ever, and instead doubles down when he's wrong. So I found that really interesting. And then good for the YOLO caucus for YOLOing it out, and just
Which I got to be honest, I'm completely surprised to a certain degree, because again, I love the the YOLO caucus. I love that they're willing to stand up, but for the most part, since even when they are pressed to the absolute extremes, they eventually give.
They have a lot. Yeah.
And Cornyn just hasn't given up, like, for the first time in a long time.
I think it's also a lesson to Republicans who feel the same way but aren't able to talk about it publicly, act on it publicly. This is a permission structure. So now is your time, because you're very likely heading into a lame duck. I've been saying we're in a lame duck already anyway, that we've been in one, but It's going to get even lamier and duckier, whatever, lame duckier. And this is your opportunity. This is really your opportunity to push back because again the Trump years aren't going to last forever, and it's going to be, you're going to try to have, speaking of revisionist history, I said something about that earlier, like a revisionist history of where you stood on these sorts of things, and people are going to remember, and they'll remember these years and the votes that were taken. And so here's your chance. If you were looking for an off ramp, here it is again. There's been so many off ramps, so take this one if
Mm-hmm.
you want one.
I mean, I didn't think I would necessarily be saying this, but I have to give props to John Thune because he, as a senator who isn't up for reelection
Yeah.
and could, be put square in the crosshairs of the Trump administration, has actually taken a point of strength stance
Yeah.
against the president in the last couple of weeks,
Yeah.
continually saying that the votes are not there for the Save America Act, and I like that. He essentially says that the math isn't mathing. At least that's how I put it. I mean,
Yeah.
math is math, arithmetic is arithmetic, is I
Yeah.
think were his
Yeah.
words.
Yeah.
But yeah, the math isn't mathing. He's consistently saying that, and
Yeah.
I kind of wonder, is he taking a cue to a certain degree from the YOLO caucus? It kind of goes back to what you were saying just a few minutes ago, that they are like Cornyn, up to this point, has been kind of giving people almost a framework of how to say no to the president as a
Mm-hmm.
Republican.
Mm-hmm.
And now Thune is similarly taking
Yeah.
the path of probably most resistance, because
Right.
you look at, oh gosh, I was watching The Daily Show last night. They were showing clips of Lindsey Graham's, of his funeral, basically how Trump's comments made them all about Trump. And then when
Yeah.
Sean Hannity got up there,
Yeah.
made them all about Trump.
So weird.
So weird.
So weird.
It's like now we are starting to see some backbone
Yeah.
from some of the leaders in the Senate, from the GOP side of things.
Yeah.
And so I want to give John Thune his kudos
Yeah.
as leader,
Yeah.
because I mean, he's standing up to not just Trump, but he's also standing up to his to members in his conference,
Totally.
like Mike Lee, Todd Young, and at least 11 to 12 others
Mm-hmm.
who want recess canceled. Which, okay, again, as a former Hill rat, house mouse, I feel like I can say this to a certain degree. That August recess, it's called a recess. I don't know why it is, but this is the time, especially in the House, when you go
Yeah.
back into your district. It's essentially a district work period. That's where town halls
Especially
take place.
in an election year, it's critical.
This is campaign season.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Senate, I mean, you can write off the House if you want, but the Senate is still in play.
Right.
These senators need to get back to their states to campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm noticing the ones that are saying, no, we don't need to go back, we can stay in, are the ones who are not up for reelection.
Right. Must be nice.
Yes. But I mean, the president is calling for the SAVE Act. He's calling for, but it's all rolled up into a potential vote-a-rama. Which also they don't want.
No.
But we're looking at the reconciliation bill from the House.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at
Debt limit increase, I think, right?
debt limit increase. Yes. Seriously, another debt limit increase?
Party of fiscal.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
My ass. Sorry, just in case we have children listening. But no, it again, it kind of goes back to what Thune is saying. The math isn't there.
Mm-mm.
None of the members, the majority of the House or the Senate GOP conference, do not want this.
Yeah. And when you said the SAVE Act, the way that you said it earlier kind of reminded me of Mean Girls, Regina George, and she's like,
that is so fetch. Gretchen, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen.
fetch is never going to happen. It's like SAVE Act, like it's not going to happen, And for Thune, I have a couple thoughts on him. First of all, I love Thune. I probably said this to you. I've said this to some of our volunteers and stuff in the past, and I even tweeted about it when it was going on and he was elected the leader. I think that there's folks who wish that he'd buck the president, the admin, every opportunity. But I think when we've seen people do that, they sort of lose some of the political ammunition that they have. And I think you can only do that so many times. And then you kind of lose some of that power, because the point is you don't know how they're going to vote on certain things. And also he's a leader, so he has to usher the conference in a specific way. But I think that Thune is very much probably like us, and he's a serious politician. He's been in the Senate. I looked this up earlier. I think it's 21 years. He's been in the US Senate for 21 years. He's a serious legislator. He's trying to get things done. So when you have a president who is continuously trying to derail what they're working on and say, save act, save act, I'd be incredibly frustrated. And I love the mathematics quote that he said. It's kind of giving to me, like, I know how dumb is spelled with a B. Okay. Like, I know, if you recall, the president said, not a lot of people know dumb has a B in it. It's like, yeah, actually we do. It's like, we know how the math works. I know that my understanding is, like, the admin has been trying to, or like quietly saying, like, oh, well, if he just went to the floor, then we'd see how many votes we actually have and it'd probably pass. No, the number one rule in Congress, especially if you're the speaker or the leader, is you don't go to the floor unless you have votes, because you look like a freaking moron. And we've seen that happen time and time again when people go to the floor and they don't have the votes, and it's embarrassing. And so, and that wouldn't really be embarrassing to Thune, it'd be embarrassing to the president. So in one way, like, he's probably, saving the president some embarrassment there. I don't think that's the reason they're not going to the floor. I think it's because the SAVE Act is terrible. But why? It's just like, you're president of the United States. This isn't your first rodeo. You've been around politics in this big capacity for a decade now. So that's how Congress works, or at least you should know at this point that that's how Congress works. So to be like, oh, just go to the floor anyway, it just, maybe fix your bill, maybe make the provisions better, and just make it voter ID and not these crazy regulations. And then people would support it, because majority of people support voter ID. They just don't support the SAVE Act. So anyway, I'm a fan of Thune. I'm having a fangirling day around Thune, I guess, as you could say. And look, people aren't perfect. I'm sure there'll come a time where maybe there's something that I don't love, but today I think we keep the pressure on and we keep the fight going. And also, what I was thinking, you said something that I hadn't thought about before with this YOLO caucus. I think that also gives him cover to do this, because call. he could say, like, oh, we're gonna have the vote or whatever. He's trying to protect his majority, because the president, again, has made it clear he doesn't care about midterms. Who cares about midterms? John Thune. He's the leader in the Senate. So if they lose, Republicans, he will no longer be the leader. He'll probably be the minority leader in the Senate, but he won't be the majority leader in the Senate. So I think he's trying to protect his people who are going to get stuck on the record making a vote on a bad bill. And, now the Yellow Caucus is giving him the permission structure to do that. So good on you guys.
The Senate right now is quite possibly the most interesting spot to be, politically, because it finally seems as if there are those who are willing to stand up to the president. But it doesn't necessarily surprise me that it's coming from the Senate, because they have 6-year terms.
Yeah, they do. Have a lot longer. The House is just always running, always.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They never stop.
I think I kind of go back to what you were saying just a few minutes ago about, the president's been in politics now for 10 years, longer than that. If we're being honest. I forget who was saying it, honestly, but it's interesting, the psychology of the president compared from his first term to his second term, and how, yes, he should completely understand that this is how Congress works. This is how the Senate works, especially in a tight midterm situation. The president hasn't had anybody around him with any political sense since his first term. They were not yes men for the most part in his first term, but they are now.
Yes.
And so they just keep on telling him that, oh, sure, this can pass.
Yeah.
All he has to do is just call the vote. The votes are there.
Yeah. No, they have no idea what they're doing. And all the good people left because they realized, wow, this is really a clown show. I want to get out of the clown car. And the only good person, and there might be another, but the only, in my opinion, good person right now is Marco Rubio. And I'm sure that folks watching this might give me pushback on that, but I think he's the only person who's been able to survive from the old guard and, actually knows what, however you think of him or not, he's been around. So he knows how the beast and the machine works. Right. But anyway, I didn't mean to derail your comment.
No, you didn't derail it at all. If anything, you added to it. So I appreciate that. So yeah, we could talk about the debt limit hike coming, but I feel like that is going to get pushed off until September. How smart do you think it is to even bring up a debt limit hike before the general election?
What's the point? There are so many unforced errors happening. And I know, okay, I know I keep saying that Trump doesn't care about midterms because he himself has said that. I don't take that necessarily fully literally, partially literally, but he just says crazy stuff all the time. But when that's the conversation that he's trying to push, you literally don't care.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah,
there is no root of caring in this man for this election cycle.
I don't know. I just what was it all for? Just to say you were president 2 times? Not to improve the Republican Party, because you haven't. Have your legacy be anything beyond a bunch of executive orders and putting your name on buildings and gold statues and stuff. It's not the longevity of the party. What was it all for? Just so you could say, I got you, Obama. You said I'd never be president, and I was. It's so weird. This is all.
We live in weird times.
Yeah. New name of the podcast. That's the next.
that's the next one. We live in weird times.
Yeah, we live in weird times. Yeah. Oh my gosh. What do you think? I mean, about the debt limit?
Well, one, they raised it 5.5 trillion last year. And I don't understand where Republicans get off calling themselves the party of fiscal restraint, if they even do anymore. But, and I'm not going to say that Democrats are anything close to that, but I know that if politically speaking, even just from the political math of it, this is a dumb idea. But at the same time, I honestly do not know the last time that a budget was passed by Congress. I honestly feel like we've been living CR to CR since the aughts, if not before then. So I know that this is tied to another budget situation. But to me, it is financial malpractice to ponder another debt limit increase, even pursue it. And it's also election malpractice. I mean, if you're going to do something like this, which is maybe what they're thinking long term, is you do it after the elections.
Yeah.
I mean, you do it in in that brief period where the House and Senate are still in session between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and you just get it done then. Because that's when the election is done. We know who's coming in, we know who's going out. The true YOLO members of Congress, they can still either side with the president and vote for this, which I'm assuming that most in the House probably still would, even if they lost. The strategy behind it is dumb.
Yes.
And just plays right into the whole I don't care about the midterms at all.
Right. When he says things or he doesn't care about midterms, I mean, honestly, that's basically saying I don't care about Americans. What do you mean you don't care about midterms? That's not even a party thing. It's you don't care what options Americans have. You don't care how they're feeling. Because if this is a referendum on you, that means they're probably not feeling great about the policies you're putting forth for them. So you should care, at least on that level. So I
don't know, Brittany.
Because someone said it was a good idea, and that person may have been Trump himself.
That's what I'm guessing. I think we have touched on so much this episode.
Yes. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot happening.
There is a lot happening.
Always.
And that is with, one half of Congress not in session.
Yeah.
There's still a ton going on. It does make me wonder what August is going to bring. I felt like, especially as we've been talking about Substack, what we're going to be writing about, and maybe we start taking a look at some of the states or what's going on in the states. I just feel like the August recess is not going to go away quietly. So
no, especially with the Todd Blanche stuff. Whether he pulls him or not, if he decides not to, it kind of is a moot point at that point, right? To come back. And so anyway, I think that one's maybe dead in the water at this point.
Well, we shall see.
Well, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I shouldn't say that because I often make projections to myself that are incorrect. So maybe don't bet on that on Kalshi or whatever.
On Polymarket or anything like
that. Yeah. Don't go and do that.
We could have a whole episode about how much I hate all of these. But that's a conversation for another time.
There's so much grift everywhere.
So much grift. Okay. Well, I think we have covered enough. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This has been Principally Speaking, episode 2. If you like it, give us a follow on our socials, especially if you're here on YouTube. Give it a like, give us a subscribe, leave a comment. It apparently helps the algorithm. And that is something we're still figuring out here at Principles First, is how these dadgum algorithms work. But apparently that does. So leave a comment, tell us what you're thinking. Follow us on our other socials on Principles First, Principles_First. On Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We are also on Facebook, but there's a long story about Facebook, which we won't get into right now. But the others, by all measure, please do follow us. Thank you for tuning in. This has been a really fun episode. I'm Josh Gillespie.
I'm Brittany Martinez.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys again next week.